When you hear the words colorectal cancer, it's easy to think of it as this big, scary, monolithic disease. But what if we looked at it differently? What if we saw it as a story? A story about broken communication, a complex puzzle of hijacked signals happening right inside our own cells. Well, the really good news is that scientists are finally learning to decode that story. So, let's dive in. To really get a handle on the scale of this problem, let's just start with a number. 900,000. That's how many lives are lost to colorectal cancer every single year around the world. It is the second deadliest cancer globally, which makes figuring this out a truly urgent mission. And this isn't some distant, abstract problem. For most of us, the lifetime risk of developing colorectal cancer is right around 1 in 20. Suddenly, that huge global number becomes very, very personal. This isn't just about statistics. It's about us, our families, and our friends. To have any hope of fighting this disease, we first have to understand our opponent. So, what is actually happening? Down at the cellular level, that allows a healthy piece of tissue to turn into a dangerous tumor. That's the journey we're about to take. Okay, first things first, it is absolutely crucial to understand that a tumor doesn't just pop up overnight. Not at all. It's actually the final chapter in a long, slow, and methodical process that can take decades to play out, all starting from just a single, tiny, altered cell. And this visual here does a great job of showing that slow-motion journey. You see on the left, you start with a perfectly normal, healthy colon lining. But then, over many, many years, an initial genetic glitch can cause a small, harmless-looking growth called an adenoma. As more and more of these genetic mistakes pile up, that little adenoma can get bigger and eventually transform into a malignant cancer. Let's put some numbers on that because they are pretty staggering. That initial phase, the initiation, where that first key mistake happens, can take anywhere from 30 to 60 years. Then, the promotion into a full-blown cancer can take another 10 to 20 years. Now, this is the key takeaway. This incredibly long timeline gives us a massive window of opportunity for screening, for detection, and for prevention, long before it ever becomes a life-or-death situation. So, to really understand what's driving this process, we need to shrink down, way down, and take a look inside the cell's control room. Because at its heart, cancer isn't just about cells growing too much. It's really a disease caused by a fundamental breakdown in communication. These internal command chains are called signaling pathways. You can think of them like a line of dominoes, or maybe a relay race inside the cell. A signal comes in from the outside, and then a series of proteins pass that message along, one to the next, telling the cell exactly what to do: grow, divide, or, and this is a big one, self-destruct if it's damaged. When things are working right, it's a thing of beauty. In a healthy cell, this whole process is incredibly orderly. It's like a perfectly choreographed dance. A signal arrives, a receptor on the cell's surface catches it like a baseball glove, a whole cascade of messengers relays that command inward, and then boom, the cell carries out its orders. It's a perfectly regulated system. But in cancer, this elegant, beautiful system gets completely hijacked. Tiny mistakes in our DNA, what we call mutations, can break one of the key proteins in these pathways. And that creates rogue signals that basically turn the cell's normal programming against itself, leading to that out-of-control growth we call cancer. And whoa, okay, take a look at this. This map gives you a sense of just how unbelievably complex the cell's internal wiring really is. It looks like a tangled mess, right? But it's actually a finely tuned network. And you can immediately see how breaking just one of those connections, one of those little lines, could cause a catastrophic system failure. Now, don't worry, we're not going to try and untangle this whole thing. Instead, let's just focus on a few of the key pathways that get hijacked most often in colorectal cancer. All right, so let's meet the usual suspects. First up, you've got the Wnt pathway. When this one breaks, the grow signal gets jammed permanently in the on position. Then there's the MAPK pathway. You can think of this as the cell's main gas pedal, and in cancer, it gets stuck to the floor. The PI3K/AKT pathway is another critical one. It's supposed to tell damaged cells to self-destruct, but here, that crucial safety switch gets disabled. And then there's a really wild one, the TGF-beta pathway, which normally stops growth, can actually get rewired to help the cancer spread. It's just diabolical. So the big question is, what causes these communication breakdowns to happen in the first place? Well, it's not just one thing. It's a really complex mix of our own genetics, our environment, and believe it or not, even the tiny microbes that are living inside of us.
This is so important to understand. Colorectal cancer is not a single disease. There are actually different roads that can lead to the same destination. As you can see, about 85% of cases come from what's called chromosomal instability, where big chunks of DNA get deleted or messed up. About 15% come from microsatellite instability, which is like having a broken spell checker for your DNA. And then about 20% involve something called epigenetics, which is basically turning genes off without actually damaging the DNA code itself. And yeah, as the note says, these paths can definitely overlap.
And this brings up a really interesting debate in science. We tend to put cancer in two clean boxes. Either it's genetic, meaning you inherited the risk, or it's sporadic, meaning it was just random bad luck. But the more we learn, the blurrier those lines get. The reality is far more complex. And this slide just perfectly captures that complexity. The disruption can come from the inside, from our own DNA, the genes we're born with, and the random mistakes that happen over a lifetime, but it can also come from the outside, specifically from the trillions of bacteria living in our gut, our microbiome. It's this intricate dance between nature and nurture that we're just beginning to understand. And this research is just mind-blowing. It turns out certain gut bacteria can act like accomplices to cancer. For instance, a bug called Fusobacterium nucleatum can reach out and directly flip on that pro-growth Wnt pathway we talked about. Another one, Bacteroides fragilis, makes a toxin that triggers chronic inflammation, which is like pouring gasoline on a fire. And some strains of E. coli even produce a toxin that can directly damage the DNA in our colon cells. It's amazing.
Okay, after all that doom and gloom about broken circuits and hijacked signals, let's pivot to the really hopeful part of the story. Because all of this deep molecular knowledge isn't just for textbooks. It is fundamentally changing how we fight cancer, leading to smarter, more precise therapies that are designed to go in and rewire these broken circuits.
And there's a fantastic analogy for this huge shift in thinking. Traditional chemotherapy is like using a blunt tool, maybe a sledgehammer. It's powerful, but it's crude. It kills any cell that's dividing rapidly, including a lot of our healthy cells. Targeted therapy, on the other hand, is like a surgeon's scalpel. It is precision oncology, designed to find and attack only the specific broken parts that are actually driving that particular cancer. And that right there is the core principle of modern cancer treatment. The goal is to analyze a patient's tumor, identify its unique set of broken signals, and then match it with the drug specifically designed to fix or block that exact problem. It's all about matching the right key to the right lock for every single person. So this leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. We've gone from seeing cancer as this one single disease to understanding that it's actually thousands of unique diseases, each one defined by its own private set of broken communications. And as we get better and better at decoding those signals, are we finally entering a new era, an era where we're not just treating cancer anymore, but actually solving the puzzle, one person at a time?